Today we are continuing our product-led growth or PLG series, and today's focus is on transparent pricing.
To go transparent.
So in other words, if you go to a B2B SaaS or an AI company's website and you go to their enterprise plan, should you be able to see a price or not? Let's dive into it.
SaaS CMO Pro.
Hey folks, Bill Masitis here. Thank you so much for joining SaaS CMO Pro. My mission is to educate marketers, founders, CEOs, VCs on modern SaaS and AI marketing. And we got a fun topic today, which is transparent pricing. So there's been a lot of debate in this, and it's the basic idea of should you show your prices or not, right? When you go to the pricing and packaging page for an AI startup, if you're selling to enterprises, selling to markets on SMB, should prices be there? Now, as a backdrop, kind of look back at the history of B2B software sales. Historically, the answer was no. There is no way you could find out how much this thing cost, right? And the only way you would find out is if you had engaged with a salesperson, and that was generally the only path you could go, was you would start talking to a salesperson. And in many cases, there wasn't even a standard price behind the curtain, right? Like every company had a different price. And what was happening was a lot of times the company was trying to maximize their revenue on every single sale. And so a lot of times the question started with, how much budget do you have?
How much is my costume budget?
Which probably isn't a good signal when you're having to give up, we have $1 million in budget. By the way, this costs $1 million. So that was just kind of how it was though. And companies were just trying to maximize their revenue. They wanted an opaque market where there wasn't price information, right? Because in that instance, usually the seller has the upper hand and the buyer's just trying to figure things out, right? And as history goes on, you start to see SaaS come out and this idea that, hey, you could go directly to a company's website and buy the product straight from there, right? This is the whole part of product-led growth. I've done an entire series on this, everything from pricing and packaging to high velocity to land and expand to freemium. If you want to watch those videos, I'll put links in the description below. But, your base idea is you started to see some prices start to appear on the website when you're buying in these SaaS-based products. And now, historically, a lot of times a company would have multiple plans, but, it started off with, even for SaaS, either there were no prices or maybe just the very SMB segment, right? You could see that, kind of like the starter plan, right? But the rest of the plans had the ubiquitous contact me. And then, as time progressed, you started to see more of the mid-market plans. So a lot of times the professional plan, you started to see a price on it. But in most cases today, even, you still won't see a price on the enterprise plan. You'll get the contact me type button there. And that kind of forces you to go through an AE or account executive sales experience. And so I guess my question today is that the right move, right? So let's talk about this, right? So there's different philosophies on that. I've always kind of come at things from a customer-centric philosophy. So I try to just think of things like, hey, if you just put yourself in the user's shoe, what would they like? Or just what would you like, right? If you take yourself out of, okay, I am a founder, CEO, I'm a head of sales, I'm a head of marketing, I'm in the marketing team, whatever it is, and just like, I'm just going and trying out and buying some software, right? I know in a lot of ways, like we get inspired by things that happen in our personal lives, right? And most consumer stuff, even for high ticket items now, you can see the price, right? And I think that's it's a nice buying experience, right? When you can kind of see the price, because then you can, look around and compare it to other prices, right? And it's just a very customer-centric thing to do. It's a nice experience.
It's the best. I love it.
And what I see a lot of times in the enterprise is that the trends that happen on the B2C side work their way into B2B. They call this the consumerization of the enterprise. There's a lot of things from the PLG side on, making your products, more simple to use, more fun to use. I've done separate videos on both those as well. But I think in a lot of cases, the pricing and packaging, sometimes just what we've done historically is what we continue to do, right? And a lot of companies will just go down this traditional B2B dusty playbook of we're only going to sell top-down into enterprises. We're going to have really expensive salespeople. We're going to have opaque pricing that they can't find out. We're going to figure out their budget. We're going to do like a custom, really expensive deal. We're going to sell them things they don't want. And again, that doesn't always happen. I'm kind of giving an extreme example, but you can kind of see where that's not the best experience, as a user. it also is nice because they can compare, your price to competitors' price. It's hard to do research ahead of time. And so I just kind of think like, you give this another 5-10 years and you're just going to see more, SaaS and AI companies that are having transparent pricing, right? For all their plans, not just having it even just for the intro plans, but for all the plans. I just think that's a very customer-centric thing to do, right? I think that it kind of follows the overall product-led growth playbook, which is you're infusing your marketing, your sales, your success, your support into the product itself. People are going to just be entering in these products. They want to be able to buy the product, aka high velocity. They want to know how much it costs. And, for enterprise type deals, I think like having that transparent pricing is a good thing. So I'd love to hear from you guys, though. I know this is kind of a controversial one. What do you do at your company? Do you have transparent pricing? Is it opaque pricing? Do you have to go through a sales-led motion to find out what that price is? What do you think it should be? Where do you think it should be in the future? Let me know. I love reading through these comments. It's super fun. And like I say, if you want to see more of these videos, give me a follow, give me a subscribe, give me a like for SaaS CMO Pro. I love talking about these various topics and I love hearing from you guys too. So thank you so much for joining SaaS CMO Pro.